It is Monday, the 12th of September, 2022. We're looking at one of the stones from Loughcrew Cairns in Ireland, a Neolithic so-called passage tomb, but I think a better term would be passage mound, because although the passages may well have been used to entomb the remains of the dead, I think it's fair to say that they had other purposes. And then some people even think that there might have been births taking place inside the passage mounds as opposed to passage tombs. So yeah, I think passage mounds is a better overall term for what has been called passage tombs for quite some time. It leaves open other possibilities, and they're all basically temples to the sun. They all align with the either the equinoxes or the solstices, sunrises, sunsets, cross quarter days, and so on. And there's also lunar alignments. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no shortage of solar eclipse symbolism, which we're getting to. And we're seeing here, here above the hand and here above the hand, what are almost certainly, as far as I'm concerned, inspired by observations of the sun's corona during total solar eclipses, although it may combine the rays of the corona with the crescent pattern of the partial phases. You know, ancient people did blend things and overlay things, one on top of the other sometimes, and modern people do it too. So here we have Upturned Crescent, almost certainly, as far as I'm concerned, a representation of the upturned crescent that may be seen during partial solar eclipse, possibly even the solar boat. So I think that's pretty clear there. I am looking at this from about 1.5 feet away, and my eyesight's not the greatest, so I might be missing something, but we'll continue on here. If I had any brains, I'd go get my glasses that I almost never wear. What do we got here? This just looks like part of the interior, but okay, let's see. Okay, that's not okay. So that's showing the cairn. So we see the ceiling stone up here. We've already discussed this in the previous video, but I see a very simple rayed sun symbol just above the hand. I see another rayed sun symbol here, which may also be a symbol depicting the solar year divided into 8 segments. So the 2 equinoxes, the 2 solstices, and the 4 cross quarter days. And then we have another, I think, flower-like depiction of a total solar eclipse there, as far as I'm concerned. Here we see what are the sharpness is not very good, but I think there's some total solar eclipse symbolism there. So what do we got? What does it tell us? I'm having difficulty with this. Okay, rear chamber, Cairn Loughcrew. Yeah, so that's the rear chamber. And I guess, yeah, this would be the equinox stone. Again, not very sharp, hard to really tell what's going on there. So equinox stone we already went over. We will not bother with that. I think we're almost done in terms of the rock art. Well, let's see what we got here. This is the Hags Chair, I believe. And yes, they did talk about rock art carved into the Hags Chair. And it does appear that there is, but it appears very eroded. Very hard to tell what, if anything, is represented on there. I would actually like to have a closer look at that. There may be techniques that can enhance what's there to bring out what may have been carved. I mean, there's clear erosion going on here. And again, this is one of the concerns is the erosion of the rock art at Loughcrew, to say nothing of other sites. They really do need to be protected, and certainly Cairns, as far as I'm concerned, it's a very important Irish heritage site, just as important as Newgrange and Knowth, which essentially have been very well protected. Dowth is also very important, but has not been, I think, adequately protected. But the pressing issue at the moment is Loughcrew, and hopefully some influence will be brought to bear on the Irish government in the coming weeks to really take care of Loughcrew. It's on private property, so I guess it is private property, but nevertheless the government departments, the Office of Public Works, Heritage Ireland, etc., really need to do something about this. I think part of the problem with the lack of preservation is that there seem to be multiple departments in the Irish government that should have responsibility, and maybe it's a case of everyone thinking someone else is taking care of it when they're not. I mean, that's one possibility. It would almost be, I'd say, worthwhile having a department of the government, or at least a sub-department of one of the, let's say the Office of Public Works, or, Office of Public Works, when it gets right down to it, is maybe not the best department of the Irish government to be dealing with, Ireland's Neolithic heritage sites. Heritage Ireland obviously makes much more sense. A department that's more concerned with heritage and culture and archaeology and anthropology and so on, I think should be the primary department for handling, preserving these very important Neolithic sites that are over 5,000 years old. They were built in the 4th millennium BCE, and some parts of them, in terms of rock art, possibly added a bit later, but the sites themselves, and in some cases the passage mounds were built around, built over, for instance, now Stone Basin. It's believed that the passage of Knowth and everything was built over the basin, because the basin was basically too large to be brought into it after Knowth had been built. So that art on the basin is almost certainly as old as the passage mound, if not possibly somewhat older. And the dating, as I said, basically for Knowth, 3,200 BCE, give or take a bit, I think, somewhere in that area. Let's say for sure between 3,500 BCE and 3,000 BCE, somewhere in there. I think the same kind of thing goes for pretty well all of them. Possibly, some people believe that Loughcrew is the oldest, and it may well be. But in any case, I think it's fair to say that all of the Irish passage mounds were built in the 4th millennium BCE. Although I do have my own theory that, for instance, some of the rock art on Dowth, Stone of the Seven Suns, I think it's possible that the very accurate depictions of total solar eclipses, that might have possibly been added later. I'm not saying a lot later, but perhaps in the 3rd millennium BCE, after a couple of total solar eclipses may have occurred. I haven't actually verified recently the dates of possible total solar eclipses in the third millennium BC. There was a total solar eclipse above Ireland in 3088 BC, so basically towards the end of the fourth millennium BCE, as it was turning to the third millennium BCE. There was a total solar eclipse right around, like maybe a century or two after the first passage tombs had been built. But nevertheless, that would have an influence on the rock art and so on. And there were earlier total solar eclipses. There were two total solar eclipses over Ireland in the first half of the fourth millennium BC. I'm having difficulty finding maps, paths of total solar eclipses or annular eclipses for that matter, between 2500 BCE and 2000 BCE. I use software, trying to remember the name of it. It was created by one Xavier Joubier, and it's the Neolithic database, or the database of Neolithic solar eclipses from 5000 BCE to 2000 BC, if I remember correctly. Anyway, basically a bunch of accurate, at least in terms of modern eclipse prediction and so on, maps of the paths of total solar eclipses and annular eclipses and partial eclipses that took place in that time frame between, as I said, around 5000 BC to 2000 BC. But there seems to be a gap. I rarely see maps of any eclipse between 2500 BCE and 2000 BCE, and there may well have been some. That's later than the construction of the passage tombs, but I do think, as I was saying, especially in terms of the very scientifically accurate depictions of total solar eclipses, there's 4 rayed sun symbols on the Stone of the Seven Suns that are almost identical to scientific astronomical drawings of total solar eclipses that were done in the 19th century, before photography really took hold in terms of documenting solar eclipses, total solar eclipses. They compare very well with one particular drawing of the 1851 total solar eclipse, almost identical. And I've pointed this out, as I said, since the mid-1990s, and it's been on the internet since the late 1990s. If you Google Douth eclipses, you should find my thoughts about that, my hypothesis, if you want to use that term. Anyway, I think we're pretty well done with Loughcrew 3D art here. I think we're going to wrap this up. I am sort of rambling, as I do have a tendency to do sometimes. But I just wanted to get this out there quickly, basically to add my contribution to trying to persuade the Irish government that it really does have to do more to protect this, especially this. The equinox stone really needs to be properly protected from any deterioration, any erosion. It's inside the passage, so it's basically safe from the wind.